Hello, my name is Gareth Hemmings and I am Director of Music at the Portsmouth Grammar School. The London Mozart Players and Portsmouth Grammar School have a long-standing artistic relationship going back over 20 years. They have heavily been involved in our annual commission of music for remembrance and have always given the first performances of these new pieces accompanying our chamber choir. We've worked together on exciting pieces by Jonathan Dove, John Woolrich, Ola J-Lo, Peter Maxwell Davies, Roxana Panufnik, to name a few. We've also experienced fantastic side-by-side orchestral playing projects where our musicians have got to play side-by-side with the London Mozart Players. We've covered music by Elgar, Frank Bridge, Percy Granger and Butterworth, to name a few. And the third strand is the academic support they have provided through composition workshops with our students, through chamber music days and through live analysis sessions. I'm really delighted to be invited to share with you some of our music department's experience of continuing the education of our young musicians remotely over the last 4 to 5 weeks. And rather than concentrate on what we have lost, which is fully documented in the media and via other online platforms, I would rather focus on the positive learning experiences we have found as teachers, musicians and colleagues. I would briefly like to speak about 4 areas: about the individual learning, about the creative use of technology, about performing and sharing music online, and about the one-to-one instrumental and vocal lessons that we run as a department. Let me first speak about individual learning. As a department, we discussed how we could maintain that sense of creativity through class music teaching, even though we weren't in our classroom. In lessons, there is now necessarily much greater focus on individuals. In years 7 to 9, formerly, we taught in larger groups, and the pupils could actually hide or slightly coast during group work sessions. But we have found that now that pupils have much greater pressure to actually participate in the lessons. And this creates a far more intense learning experience. As a result, as a school, we've decided to reduce our length of academic lessons from 40 minutes from 50 minutes. But we have tried to aim to recreate that feeling of group work and collaborative learning through the creative use of technology, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We've also maintained collective class performance through singing. For example, with the Year 7, we created a whole year group mashup of songs based on the Pachelbel Canon, and each individual recorded parts of that and handed that in electronically so that their voices were combined as part of a whole year group recording, with our Year 9 pupils contributing instrumental parts. We shared this on our new website, and I'll talk more about the new website that we created for this period of time a little bit later. What was interesting was that many pupils found that because they were recording their voices in the safety of their own home, they found that this anonymity and safety encouraged them to sing and also to re-record and refine their performances, and that sense of improving through repetition was something that we didn't always get in the classroom. They were keen to submit the best that they possibly could. We continue to encourage digital sharing of work through the use of MP3 files, GarageBand files, Sibelius files and videos of people performing and composing work. And these also we have been sharing on our new website. So this is my studio under the stairs, and I'm going to play to you the track they've been working on. It's a mashup of pop songs based on the same chord pattern. Every one of those tracks under there is a different person singing in a different instrument in a different class, and we've mashed them all together. We have found the delivery of the A-Level and GCSE course, especially the analysis, to be particularly effective via video chat. And we've found that actually without the distraction of being in a classroom, we've actually worked more effectively and more efficiently than we may have done otherwise. The sharing of our screens through document camera viewers has enabled us to share scores and annotate them together. We've also been able to put pupils into smaller chat room groups so they can actually continue collaborative discussion, and the teacher remotely can tune into each of those rooms, and some creative discussion work has happened without perhaps them feeling the pressure of having other people in the room. In their own individual chat rooms, they've found that they've been able to share their ideas maybe more freely than they would have been in class. I move on now to talk about the creative use of technology. We've all become, as a department, very quickly more proficient in video editing, in video recording, in mixing of recordings, screencasting and live streaming. It's been a vast learning curve, but quite an exciting one as well. Digital platforms and apps have allowed us to develop musicianship and learning in new and imaginative ways, which have also been capturing the pupils' imagination too. We quickly built a music department website to share work and performances on, and also to allow pupils to access material for self-development and also for fun. The website is used to continue our weekly lunchtime recital series, with pupils videoing their performances and sending them in. Staff have also contributed to this, and the invitation to share music in each other's homes is a very special one and has been much appreciated by the school community. It has also allowed people who would not have usually had a chance to access these concerts in our lunchtime slots to now listen to them in the comforts of their own home in their own time frame. The website has also been used for sharing of pre-recorded school concerts and for school services as well. We've created family challenges and activities to engage the whole school community in. We also have curated a Music for Mindfulness twice weekly podcast with playlists of recordings to listen to and explanatory notes as to what to listen for in that music. Our Discover Music pages offer the chance for further study and to introduce people to new music, with topics as diverse as Penderecki, Harry Connick Jr., Miles Davis, the musicals of Parker and Stone, and Greek dance music. We've invited contributions from staff and also from pupils, and it's allowed the A-level pupils a valuable chance to explore musicological research further. Had we been in school as normal, we'd have run our first organ experience day in May. Obviously we couldn't do that this time, but we were able to use the website to create a virtual organ experience day. And we've uploaded videos with introductions about how the organ works, about the mechanics of it, and the cathedral organist, Dr. Price at the cathedral, was able to take his camera into the organ, and we have an inside video tour of Portsmouth Cathedral organ. This will be a valuable resource for when we're back in school time as normal as well. We've also used the website to host oral training videos, which we've created to share with our pupils so that they can continue their oral training as part of their regular musicianship skills. We've discovered some new programs, including my favourite, Soundtrap. This program allows pupils to record and create music on their computers at home, and also, importantly, to collaborate and share these projects in real time with other pupils and teachers. And it doesn't require any expensive programs to be downloaded onto your own computer. It all happens in the cloud. We've set up some really exciting fusion projects with Year 9 that we're hoping to work with other schools from around the country on. Year 8 have also been using this program to explore writing music for advertising, for jingles and mobile phone ringtones, and Year 7 have been using Soundtrap to work on a project which remixes local Hampshire folk songs in more contemporary styles. This is Soundtrap. This is the window that the students will get to work on their computers, and as soon as they save it, it gets uploaded onto my account so I can read it as well. I can collaborate in the side and give them suggestions on the chat along the edge. And then I can also obviously play it and hear what they've done. This is the Year 7 folk remix. So they were looking at adding contemporary beats and some interesting harmony to a pre-recording we made of a Hampshire folk song. So I can also make edits to it if I decide that I wanted to help out a little bit or simplify some textures or give some ideas. I can delete parts I might just and I can get rid of parts, and then when I click save, it will update on the student's copy, so that they can hear the changes. Then they can also make the songs more elaborate as they go along. We looked at adding harmony. And we found that they've really engaged with this and enjoyed working in a contemporary style or on contemporary things, even with traditional material to work with. So that's been our great discovery and has enabled us to have group work going, and pretty much live collaboration with each other as well. Performing and sharing. Maintaining the pattern of group rehearsals was important to us, and this has been largely successful. Whilst we can't necessarily perform together, we've been creative about how we have been able to keep that feeling of working together and to keep that group identity for each of our ensembles. We kept our weekly rehearsal times as scheduled, but with online meets for about 15 minutes to chat through and to share what we've been doing and to set projects for the next week. These have included things like virtual choir recordings, where everybody's recorded their own parts so that we could mix them together. And this means that they will have learnt some music which we can actually use straight away once we come back into school as normal.
Words, the letter and a letter on a string will hold forever humanity's spellbound words, possession of the beggar and the king. Everybody, every day, you and I, we all can say words, regarded as a complicated tool, created by man, implicated by mankind. Words, possession of the genius and the fool. Everybody, every day, everywhere and every way, oh, words.
We've posted recordings of previous concerts so that the groups can listen to themselves and then also to reflect on what they've been able to do and how effective their recordings were, what worked, what didn't work. It's given us a chance to actually discuss how we sound as a group, as a choir, as an orchestra, something that we wouldn't have necessarily been doing had we been back at school as normal. For the orchestra, we set a conducting challenge where we asked them to video themselves conducting along with a full score to Sibelius Finlandia. That's a piece we've been currently working on with the orchestra and we would have been performing in our gala concert. We've used the times for troubleshooting passages of music with individuals, and so if they are finding things difficult, we've been able to give them individual advice on particular areas. Our head of strings has been great in helping with that, as has our head of brass. We've also used YouTube, SoundCloud and our new website to be an invaluable resource for sharing the music of the school and for keeping it as live as we can, for keeping the sense that PGS music is still happening even though we're not in school. It's happening in our homes, and that's an important thing for the music department to feel. And it has enabled more families to access the music department. Families that may not have had time to venture into the department for our lunchtime concerts, or may not have been able to get to concerts in the cathedral because of evening commitments. They've now been able to access that 24/7 on our website. And this is one of the positive things that we will be continuing with in the future. This last week also, we've been able to audition and to cast our next musical remotely. We'll be doing a chorus line, hopefully performance in November, coronavirus allowing. We've also used the websites and various Google online classrooms to keep our musicians updated about our plans for the future and our concert schedule for next year, which we are planning and we do hope we'll be able to deliver. This includes our Remembrance concert in November with the LMP, in which we hope to feature some of the music that we've been working on during this lockdown period. And finally, I'd like to talk about the one-to-one instrumental and vocal lessons that we provide as a department. along with our partners, Portsmouth Cathedral. We're the choir school for Portsmouth Cathedral, and Dr. David Price, the Master of the Choristers, also works very closely with us and delivers lessons and group coaching to a number of the pupils who are choristers. After having 2 to 3 weeks of teaching using Google Meet as our online platform for delivering video lessons, I asked our VMTs to reflect on how they had found the experience and anything surprising or interesting or useful that may have impacted upon their teaching. And I'd like to share with you some of the comments they made. The first thing that came back from them was that they found that they had developed much stronger relationships with the parents. Being invited into your pupils' homes is a really enlightening and interesting experience. And having the contact with parents at the beginning and the end of every lesson is something that they never had in school time. Our lessons would happen in the music department during the school day. Parents obviously did not have access to those. Now, with most parents being at home, whilst the lessons are going on, they found that they could actually talk to and speak to the teacher, and that relationship has been a really important one to develop. They've also found that they need to develop a lot of greater clarity and precision whilst they explain things, which is no bad thing, because the pupils, without them physically being there to show them face to face, need clearer explanation and need to think about things in a slightly different way. The focus it brings to the lessons as well. It requires more energy, clarity and flexibility to engage the pupil and still to deliver the same level of technique and performance coaching. Some of the teachers have reported that the ability to work on smaller sections of music in greater detail has developed different practice techniques in the students and works particularly well with one-to-one video lessons. It has also required much greater focus on musicianship for the pupils in terms of intonation and sound development. They've been forced to listen more closely to their tuning and also to the sound that's been developed. For example, with string instruments, the Google Meet platform doesn't necessarily reproduce for the teacher the best sound quality from the student. So the student is needing to try and put into words and maybe even interpret from the teacher what kind of sound they should be producing and whether they're actually doing that. So it requires that more self-reliance on their own ear. The use of the school's virtual learning environment, Google Classroom, to deliver the streamed lessons has given the visiting music teachers access to a digital resource that allows them to post videos, practice materials and notes for instant access by the pupils 24/7. And this is certainly something that I'll be continuing to use with the VMTs when they're back into school teaching normally. One of the teachers has reported that being set up for teaching live video lessons has also opened the doors for her for further lessons with pupils during the summer holidays, and also when some are going on to university. They've asked if they can remain having lessons with her but teaching it through video techniques. It's also enabled her to gain more adult pupils in that way. This has also made us all appreciate our departmental team the more, and also to communicate in a way that perhaps we did not before. Independence in the pupils. They all have to write their own notes on their music and take more responsibility for this aspect of learning, and that is no bad thing. A big plus is the direct parental personal contact and also seeing the practice facilities at home, discovering what somebody's piano actually sounds like. Whether they've actually got a real piano sometimes is a revelation. They've also found that they can be more helpful in terms of posture because they can see exactly where they usually practice and how they practice and how this has impacted on technique. Parents seem to listen now more to that as well. Some students have also felt more comfortable having their lessons in their own home setting, and in particular drum kit and percussion students have often found they preferred playing on their own kit and their own instruments at home. A number of people have also reported that they have had to modify their teaching to include more theory and oral, especially if internet reception is poor, and that also progress can still be made as a musician, even if you're not in the same room as the person that you're teaching. 2 slightly tangential gains have been reported as well. One of our VMTs has said it's much easier than lugging stuff from school to school, and also having to run to the mainly unhelpful photocopier or to queue up for the computer to get onto it at the time on site. And finally, one teacher's also said, I've gained more sleep and saved more money from not using the car. Big win. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found that interesting from a teacher's perspective of how virtual learning has been working. I think it's encouraging that there are positives to be gained from this, and I know that a lot of this practice, the good parts, we'll be taking forward in our teaching. We've already been discussing what elements of virtual learning do we like and what we're going to teach. This whole idea of flipped classroom, flipped learning, which works particularly well for music and also particularly well for instrumental teaching, is something that we definitely would want to be continuing. Anything that we can take which will benefit our students using the best of what the technological age can offer us is going to be an advantage. So thank you to the LMP for your continued support. We've loved using your at-home series to send our pupils to, and we're really looking forward to working with you again in the future. I'm hoping that our November concert will be able to happen properly. I guess there's lots of things we could explore virtually as well with the orchestra. And I hope that everybody stays safe and stays healthy. And I hope that we get back into our concert halls and classrooms and performing venues soon.